a minute review here of whatchamacallit, what the heck is Valhalla, the Valhalla DLC. There it is. So I absolutely loved it. I think it's great. I think the story, if you're watching this after the fact, because I'm always going to cut these out as far as, if I remember, I'm going to cut these out as little reviews, but my review of the God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC, I think it's great. I thought it was really fun. I like the moves. I like, obviously the only new thing that we really did get as far as actual weapons and stuff, even though I'm sure just like a lot of people, I would have loved it if it was just like, hey, where is it? Boom. This right here, if this just, you can use it now and you can just throw it and call it back just like the axe, but it's lightning and the different element. Would have loved it. Would have been amazing for sure, but it's okay that we didn't get that. We did get a fury, or a rage I should say, and that allowed us to have the legacy rage, giving us the blade of Olympus, which was super cool. Absolutely love that. I love, of course, once you go through, you have the story elements, and clearly they talk about after I beat it, there's like more memories to actually even unlock, so that's super cool. So I'm curious how that's going to play out and what discussions they're going to have there. But I like the way it was handled. I thought it was really cool, and I also find it interesting that and I guess that's a part of like what the key was. So I'm curious where that kind of plays as far as like, hey, here's this memory that you unlock and things like that. So I like the way it was handled for sure. I like the way they go through the story. You find out Tyr was the one that did it because he's like, hey, I'm a relic of the past at this point. So, you helped, get us through Ragnarok. You helped. Like, so now we are here because I believe that you can take over, but you have to believe it. So I'm excited to see what in the world they end up doing next. But this was definitely a fun little story after, the main campaign of God of War Ragnarok, where it is Kratos being like, hey, I saw what I could become, but I'm still worried because of what I used to be. And it's great, especially for Kratos. I mean, heck, I mentioned for like a tiny bit where people used to talk about like, oh, it's just a hack and slash game. It's just, the franchise is God of War. It's just this super violent game. And that's all it ever really was. And this story kind of dives into that part of Kratos believing that, where it's like all it was are like the darkest things that I've ever done, like killing all of these people, some of which were definitely innocent 100%, and he did horrible things. But then it's like, like they even say it's like, hey, it's not that we forgive you for what you've done, but you have to accept what you did and know that you can be better. Don't be sorry, be better. So I like the way that they handled it. I love the action in it. Tyr was definitely tough. I love the upgrades of him. And it also makes me really interested because I'm like, man, they do a lot of combat work for us not to be able to play any other characters outside of Kratos and Atreus. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like they just were like, hey, you fight against Tyr. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, this is a weapon I got. Okay, that's pretty neat. And it's like, hey, here's another weapon I got. Okay. Here's a third weapon I got. And a fourth weapon I got too. You can do a lot, Tyr. There's a whole lot of combat in there that none of us get to control. I find that very fascinating. It's just worth pointing out. They had to do all of that just for the DLC. And I find that extremely interesting because we had no indication whatsoever that Tyr could do that. I mean, obviously, technically, Tyr wasn't even really in the game until after you beat the main campaign. It was Odin the whole time. So that's really interesting that they're like, yeah, we're just going to do all of this design work just for the new DLC we put out for free. And it's like, makes you wonder what they have coming up next, because it's like, hey, the story isn't over really. It's like, okay, something's happening, because that's a lot of design work. Even if we don't get to play as him, which we totally should, like they put so much work into it, just switch all of that cool stuff and just bring it over. D-pad, buttons, like just swap it over and let us control Tyr for a little bit. But we'll see what happens as we go down the line with whatever they end up doing up next for God of War. But absolutely love it. Definitely fun. Obviously the action in general is super entertaining, so just the challenge of being like, all right, I have to pick and choose this. You kind of start over each time, and it's like, choose which weapon path you want to go down, so that'll kind of lean you towards getting these special moves versus these other special moves, and just going through and being like, oh, like I really love that move, or I love this move, or this is a relic that I really appreciate but I have to actually unlock it permanently, or this is a move that I really like, or this is a move I really hate, but like, man, I need more than one special move all the way through. I think there was one time I did it and I only ended up getting 2 by the end, and it's like, man, I really needed some special moves. So even when you don't like it, it's like I need some like heavy hitting attacks so I can just kind of have a little bit of space as the challenge constantly increases. But I love the way it was handled. like I said, my main thing is I'm excited to see what they do next, especially with them saying like, yeah, it's not over just yet. But I love what they did in this. I love getting the new Rage, and of course, like, how can you not be like, hey, classic Kratos, especially for people like me who are like, oh, photo mode. I'm definitely going to use photo mode, and then I can do classic Kratos in all the different armors and all that stuff. Is like, I'm definitely going to mess around with that at some point for sure. But to be able to just be like, all right, let me just go into the menu, and then poof, you swap it. I assume it would be the same in New Game Plus, where you would just go to, you know, like your main menu, just like you're swapping an armor, just like at the pedestal there. Same as going to the main, or not the main menu, but just going into the menu to switch armors. It'll be, I assume, the exact same thing. It's just like poof, you know, I switch appearances. So that's really cool. But yeah, it was a good time. So I hope you all enjoyed the game. Going through the stream, if you're watching the random review of this, definitely check out the video. It'll be like the end title piece of this, of the little title card there. But if you guys have any comments, please put them down in the comment section below. I'll definitely appreciate it. It's definitely a good time with this game, and at some point I will be playing some more. So thanks for watching.